One morning, just before dawn, Henry was dropping off some fish from the Flying Kipper when Rebecca arrived. Morning, Henry! Oh, good morning, Rebecca. What's been happening? I've heard some news that a diesel number 199 is coming to our railway. Oh, that's nice. Wait, what? Sir, is this true? That a diesel named 199 is coming to Sodor?
Don't treat him very well.
199 came to visit the island of only I was known as 71. I was a friendly diesel. Each time 7101, it took this railway over. Just 199. It's their railway up. Not for long. Our controller says steam engines spoil our image.
Of course we do. Just mode for time. We bring it home for that one cylinder.
Nothing ever happens. How rude. But after I failed, Henry helped me too. And we all went to prom. Donald took the goods with 199. I thought that was the last time me and Henry...
I just know it. Later that same morning.
Oh dear, that's terrible.
Yeah, but he's probably gonna be worse than ever. But I have to go now. Henry wondered, but what if he hasn't? At the signal near Suttery Junction, Henry met Bear, who had back. When Henry arrived at the forest, he looked to his left, safe from that diesel. But they weren't. You were so busy thinking about 199, you didn't. Henry was worried. Sound of a diesel's motor. It was 199. Oh no, not him. Anyone but him. And Henry was so surprised he didn't know what to.
Life on the railway was becoming difficult. The yards were packed with waiting trucks. High spirits were hard to come by, and the stations were crowded with passengers. It was hard working, and the engines began to feel the strain.
You think that's worse? Get stuck by a flock of sheep like I did today,
suggested Henry.
They said the only engine spare. Please do your best to make him welcome.
The engines groaned about another diesel coming to the island. It was the same looking diesel who had arrived at the yards and got an inspector's bowler hat stuck in his air intake. He eyed the pannier suspiciously. You haven't changed since we last met. At least you're still... I beg your pardon? It's not your fault. But you steam engines are obsolete. We, on the other hand, are unique, powerful, and efficient. Soon, your controller will be rid of you kettles and replaced with something much clean. Doug puffed away. With Scotland! What a cab! To think he would have learned some manners by now. I couldn't have put it better. My sen is that we must make the best of a bad situation. When he saw the diesel with a long goods train, I thought they stopped building riffraffs like you. Call yourself an engine? You're a disgrace to us all. One day you will get your comeuppance. The diesel seethed with anger as he rolled away, but I'm sorry to say, Bear was right. The diesel was waiting at the platform with an express for Barrow, but to everyone's surprise, his driver climbed down to inspect. The fault wasn't hard to find. That class 40's failed. Quickly now. Gordon found him, stuck and looking sulky. Don't even speak. Serves you right for saying we are obsolete. That night, the Fat Controller spoke severely to him. It has come to my attention that you have said terrible things to my fleet, or impertinent to others. I make myself clear. Diesels are welcome, as long as they work as allies, not as rivals. You will be staying in the sheds until I can trust you to behave. The Fat Controller turned, leaving the diesel. The diesel idled in the sheds, staring longingly outside. The Fat Controller had punished him because of his snobbish behaviour towards the engines, and his face went white as smoke as the stout gentleman left the yards. D261 sniffed, but heed my warning. Later, Some workmen came up to D261.
He's got enough fuel for the time being. He should be alright for this morning.
Go where exactly?
We've been ordered by the signalman to take a goods bound for the works.
Goods trains were hardly D261's preferred type of work, but the thought of being away from the sheds coaxed him into getting ready quickly. The diesel shuddered as he shunted his train into place behind him in the yards. Engines would tease him as they passed around him.
The engines love working when the sun shines. One day, Thomas and Percy were helping Salty at the docks, but Salty was worried. It may be sunny now, matey, but there be a storm coming. It may be sunny now, matey, but there be a storm coming. There be a fierce storm on the way, Captain, peeped Percy. Salty knew they were making fun of him. He felt sad. Later, the Fat Controller arrived. I want you to fetch Fergus from the smelters. His driver doesn't know the line. Aye, aye, sir, replied Salty sadly. Salty was glad he was going to the smelters. He didn't want to stay where he wasn't liked. What's wrong? Nobody likes being made fun of by silly tank engines. Goodbye. Those be dark clouds, matey. There be a fierce storm on the way, Captain. Emily was cross. It's no nice to copy the way others speak. You hurt Salty's feelings. We were just having fun. We'll say sorry to him. But Salty was nowhere to be found. Thomas and Percy were worried. Fergus was waiting for Salty when he arrived at the smelters. Right on time, congratulated Fergus. Aye, but there's a storm coming, said Salty. We must hurry. Soon they were hooked up and on their way home. Salty was right about the storm. It was a fierce one. The ships at sea depend upon the lighthouse to keep them safely off the rocks. But now there was trouble. The lighthouse lamp has gone out, cried the captain. Salty and Fergus were fighting their way back through the wind and rain. Then Salty saw a lantern ahead. The lighthouse keeper was waiting for him. Our lighthouse lamp has gone out. Our generator is broken. Salty had an idea. Fergus has a flywheel. It could power the generator. Fergus's flywheel was attached to the generator shaft. Without the lighthouse, the ship was steaming towards the rocks. Fergus was working as fast as he could. Finally, the generator came back to life. The lighthouse beam shone across the stormy sea once more. Just in time. Harder starboard, matey. Salty's idea had saved the day. Fergus worked hard until first light. The next morning, Salty and Fergus chugged back to the docks. They were surprised to see a crowd waiting for them. Thank you, said the captain. You saved our ship. Well done. Salty was very proud. Then say no more, me hearties, replied Salty happily. Now they will all work together and have fun together, as good friends should. The engines on the Fat Controller's railway love Brendam docks. There's always lots of work to keep them busy, and they enjoy seeing new arrivals onto the island of Sodor. An exciting new arrival was an engine Cranky the Crane was unloading. It was heavy. This makes my chain ache. This is Harvey, the crane engine, the Fat Controller said proudly. The other engines thought Harvey looked strange. Harvey was happy to be on the ground. He didn't like dangling from Cranky's arm at all. These gentlemen are the railway board. Tomorrow, Harvey will give them a demonstration. If it goes well, he will join the railway. What's a demonstration? That evening, Thomas had just returned from a hard day's work. Harvey could hear the other engines talking about him. This made him sad. Harvey's different. He doesn't even look like an engine, said Edward, sniffed Gordon. He's just Cranky on wheels, said James. He's not taking my mail, said Percy. Thomas felt sorry for Harvey. Don't worry. Sometimes it takes time to make new friends. But Harvey wasn't sure he wanted to stay where no one wanted him. The next morning, the Fat Controller sent the engines off to a useful day's work. Maybe my coming here wasn't such a good idea, sir. Nonsense! But the engines don't like me. I'm too different. And that made Harvey feel better. Out on the branch line. Faster we go, pull him along, don't let him slow. Help! His driver applied the brakes. He went off the rails at Bulgy's Bridge. I'll do my best, sir, Harvey said bravely. He set off immediately. Harvey soon arrived and went to work. In no time, Percy was back on the tracks. That was the best demonstration of all. The gentlemen of the Railway Board have decided you shall join the railway. Oh, thank you, sir, said Harvey proudly. That night, Harvey heard the engines talking again. You see, said Thomas, different can be good. Harvey smiled happily.
Arthur loves working on the island of Sodor. He is new to the railway and is still learning his way around. One morning, he discovered the fishing village. The sun made the water spark, and the seagulls called across the harbor. This was Arthur's favorite place. That evening, Sir Topham Hatt came to the shed. He paused impressively. Arthur hoped he would be chosen. Thomas, you will work on the new line. Arthur was disappointed. Sir Topham Hatt sent him to haul coal to the steelworks. Do I smell a fishy engine? Arthur wished he could go to the fishing village instead of the steelwork. He'd be much happier than Thomas. The next morning, Thomas was still grumpy. The fisherman had caught lots of fish. Hurry up, said Thomas. I'm a busy engine. You. Thomas steamed as fast as he could along the line, but there was trouble ahead. Whoa! The troublesome trucks were delighted.
He's falling in the water.
And the fish freight car stayed on the track. It was a hot day. The ice that was keeping the fish cold started to melt. That fish will spoil soon. Arthur was surprised to see Thomas in the tidal pool. Are you all right, Thomas? No, but I'll be much better when you take these fish away. The breakdown van will be here soon, called Arthur's driver, raced along the line to the docks, and arrived there just in time. Later, Arthur went to see Thomas at the fitter's yard. Thank you, said Arthur. I wish I had the fishing village line all the time. Well, please tell Sir Topham Hatt, because I don't like fish. Any volunteers? Me. And please, sir, may I run on that line all the time? Thomas doesn't like fish, but I do. Arthur was delighted. The next morning, he puffed into the fishing village right on time. The smell of fish was everywhere, but he was sure he had the most beautiful line on the island of Sodor.
A brand new tank engine was racing across the island of Sodor. He was very excited, and he didn't want to be late. Was very smart. Nice to meet you, puffed Arthur politely. And he's got a spotless record. It means he's never been naughty or made a mess, replied Thomas. No, thank you, wished the new engine. He'd never been naughty before. Arthur's first job was to push a trainload of fruit to market. The truck started to sing. A root-toot-toe, we want to go. The fruit's going off 'cause you're too slow. How rude. This gave Thomas a naughty idea. Thank you, said Arthur. I will. Arthur was glad he could keep the trucks in order. Arthur chuffed cheerfully through the countryside. Soon, the trucks started singing again. Chug, chug, chuff. Stop singing, huffed Arthur. Trucks should do as they're told. The troublesome trucks were cross. If they couldn't sing, we'll show him. He can't push us around. Arthur struggled over bridges, and he huffed and puffed through tunnels. He came over the top of a big hill. Wheesh! Duck had stopped at the crossing at the bottom of the hill. Arthur's driver applied the brakes, but it was too late. Squashed fruit flew everywhere. Arthur was upset. His spotless record was ruined. The fat controller was very annoyed. What happened, dear? Please, sir, it's my fault. That evening, Arthur was having the squashed fruit cleaned out of his funnel. Thanks for owning up to it, replied Arthur. And then mended again, finished Arthur. Just like friendships.
I meant to be taking the Duke and Duchess of Boxford to an important lunch, huffed Spencer. But my way is blocked by all these smelly garbage wagons. Someone will have to move them, sniffed Spencer. Just then, Gordon Chuff passed. Me? I'm still waiting, huffed Spencer impatiently. Spencer was getting very impatient. Freeze my firebox, snorted Spencer when he saw Whiff. That dirty little engine can't move all these garbage wagons. Spencer watched as Emily and Whiff coupled up to the garbage wagons and quickly shunted them away. Spencer was very impressed. Whiff is a very, very useful engine, he wheezed.
Gordon was feeling very excited. Because a Duke and Duchess are visiting, the Fat Controller will be choosing me as their special engine. Pah! But a signal diverted Gordon into a siding. I'm going to be late. A huge engine rocketed by. Steaming pistons. Who's that? Gordon soon found out. When he arrived at the shed, the huge engine was humming quietly. But secretly, Gordon was impressed. I'm the Duke and Duchess's private engine. I take them everywhere. Quiet. There will be a party for our guests at Maron Station. You'll need to take on plenty of water, muttered Gordon. I have plenty of water, wheezed Spencer, and he raced away. I was only trying to be useful. Spencer showed the Duke and Duchess many beautiful places, but he never stopped once to take on more water. Gordon and Thomas were collecting passengers when Spencer raced through on his way to the party. Don't forget the water! Who cares? He'll be in trouble soon. And Spencer was. He ran out of water on Gordon's hill. Why didn't I listen? Sighed Spencer. When Gordon arrived, the station master was waiting. Hurry, Gordon, said his driver. Gordon was looking forward to seeing Spencer. Run out of water, snapped Spencer. I must have a leaky tank. Perhaps, but we'd better hurry. Everyone is waiting. Then they set off. See? Said Gordon. We're right on time. Spencer was embarrassed. What do you think of Spencer now? Whispered Thomas. I know that. It was winter. A thick blanket of snow lay over the island of Sodor. All the engines were busy carrying passengers and goods from station to station. Sometimes they need to warn people they are coming, so steam engines blow their whistle and diesel engines sound their electric horn. One day, Percy took some trucks to the smelter's yard. Just listen to this. Diesels can do everything better than steamies, they sneered. My whistle's as good as your horns. Just you wait and see. Later, Percy went back to the quarry, took an extra big puff and blew as loudly as he could. I told you my whistle is as good as your silly old honky horns. Percy couldn't wait to use it again. Thomas was cross. That wasn't funny, he sniffed. Percy saw Bertie the bus, but Percy had already chuffed away. Percy was sorry. But the next day, Percy was bringing the milk train from the dairy. He couldn't see any people or engine. But there was something else Percy couldn't see. Snow stuck to the log. It turned into a snowball. The snowball got bigger and bigger. Percy was enjoying himself. Oh, no! Luckily, no one was hurt. Percy waited in the cold. At last, Thomas arrived. He was, you must only use your whistle when the time is right. Yes, sir. He didn't use his whistle once. A big snowdrift had slipped onto the tracks. Something must be wrong. Just in time. Cinders and ashes. You are a really useful engine. Percy uses his whistle safely now, and all his friends are glad to see him. But Harry and Bert laughed. Caught out a whistle, chortled Bert. Puffed Percy crossly. Harry and Bert were surprised. He was too busy having fun. He took another big puff. That evening, Thomas told Percy to stop surprising his friends. He waved, I promise. I wish I could have one more loud whistle. With snow on the ground, they couldn't find any grass to eat. Percy took his... A log fell off and rolled down the hill. Now I will have to go for help. His funnel was freezing and his axles were shivering with the fat controller. Not for playing games, cried Thomas.